welcome to Half the Metal. Well, we're doing this.
We're ranking the dreaded 1997 line of G.I.Joe figures.
And the results may surprise you.
And since it's just 23 figures to get through, I'm putting the Joes and Cobras on the same list this time. Oh, and since all figures are made from the same cheap plastic, I'm not gonna take that into account, but I will mention it here.
Strap in, folks, it's gonna be a ride.
We start with Ace, who uses the mold from his 1992 figure, and as such, while a bit bland, is still cool. Plus, I love the military colors on him, so he goes into the good tier. Next is the Alley Viper, who, when we last saw him in 1994, almost had me running screaming from the room. This version uses the same body, but has a much better color scheme. And even though the white camo is a bit disappointing, he's still the best Alley Viper we've seen so far, so he goes into the good tier.
We're staying with Cobra.
As we come to the Baroness, who uses the version 1 mold. Well, they had to, really. It's amazing, but this is only the second figure she ever got. They went with blue for her outfit, which kinda makes sense as she had a blue uniform in her first comic and cartoon appearances. It's different, but I can dig it, and it was nice to finally get another Baroness, so she goes into the good tier. Blizzard! Isn't Blizzard. It's Frostbite. Well, the figure uses the mold from the 1993 version at least. This is the first instance on this list of Hasbro having lost molds they wanted to use for the 1997 line. If I had to guess, I'd say the original mold went missing after Europe got it to make the exclusive yellow one. I'd call this figure itself bland, but the whole Frostbite mold takes it into the weird tier.
And speaking of lost molds...
Breaker. Frickin' Breaker that looks nothing like Breaker at all. Well, except he has brown hair, I guess. Completely Frankenstein together. Hell, let's ignore the alphabet and throw rock and roll in there as well, since it's basically the same figure with blonde hair, and also looks nothing like rock and roll. These were part of the Stars and Stripes Forever set, where all other figures used molds from 1983, the original team with Swivel Arm Battle Grip, but apparently the Breaker and rock and roll molds were lost, so they took whatever they could find to put these together. So these two really stand out. Even ignoring all that, they are ugly, ugly figures. Given the total package of crap here, they both belong in the actual worst tier. Lost mold again, as Cobra Commander uses the version 3 figure. And they painted him blue because that kinda looks like the shade of the hooded version.
I guess?
Oh, and the mold to replace the missing mold is missing part of the mold itself, as it does not have the breathing tube the original had, so they screwed even that up. This is a moldy situation. All this makes this Cobra Commander weird enough for that tier. Destro also doesn't use his original version 1 mold, but version 3's. I guess they skipped version 2 because 3 has the famous collar, though it's ridiculously oversized. The colors are also ugly, so I'm putting him in the bad or ugly tier.
And I've got a little bonus for you.
The extremely rare figure Hasbro desperately wants you to call Profit Director Destro, but we all know and love as Pimp Daddy Destro, goes into the weird tier, and could be a video all of itself if we were to go into its whole history. Duke or Drunk Dookie is proof there was like zero quality control when making this toy line. Colors aren't great either, so he goes into the worst tier. General Hawk is pretty okay. I don't have any real complaints or something interesting to say about the figure, so he goes into the good tier.
And we can all move on with our lives.
Oh, Grunt, what have they done to you? With the 1982 and 1983 rankings, I was hard on Grunt and other figures that used that head sculpt because it was so ugly. That hasn't changed. But that shirt, can you even call it camo? Chuckles would call that shirt outrageous. Grunt here transcends ugly and goes straight into the worst tier.
And speaking of ugly...
This color scheme on Gung-Ho is just tragic. I also don't know why this figure exists. He came with the Slugger, but in the original line, that vehicle came with Thunder. And we know they had the mold for that figure because they used it in 1998. I guess Gung-Ho was a fan favorite? Those colors put him in the ugly part of the bad or ugly tier though. Iceberg is fine. A little bland, but still interesting enough to avoid that tier. I'll allow him into the good one. Lady J, or Night Force Lady J as I call her, is honestly the best figure of 1997. Really great new look for a figure that's already really cool.
And this may shock you.
A figure from freaking 97 goes into the best tier. The third and final female figure of the year is Scarlet. And it's an interesting color choice. I would have gone for a more traditional one, but it's not bad. And if you look it up in my personal dictionary, you see that the definition of not bad is good, so into that tier she goes. Short Fuse is special, as he's one of the only ones from the Stars and Stripes set who both looks like a regular soldier and could easily fit in with the original 1982 lineup. He looks basic, but we could have used a bit more of that in this set. And I've personally always really liked this figure, so guess what? He also goes into the best tier. 1997 gave us not one but two Snake Eyes figures, and they look almost identical, though there are some slight differences in the color detailing.
So why was that?
Well, one of them was made for the Stars and Stripes set, which were all supposed to use the 1983 molds, so he fits in there. The other figure, however, that's part of a mission pack, was supposed to use version 2's mold, but for the umpteenth time, Hasbro couldn't find it, so they stuck in the original. Both are good figures, so they go into the good tier, though I was tempted to put the mission pack version in the weird one. Stone Job remains pretty boring, so he goes into the bland tier. Everything that I said about Short Fuse could apply to Stalker, but because I personally like the Short Fuse figure better, Stalker will go into the good tier. He's pretty high up in it though. Storm Shadow was a difficult one. With the way he looks, I think they tried to blend the previous three costumes into one. The mold is version 1, the grey resembles version 2, and the snowy pattern reminds me of Ninja Force.
Thank God he isn't translucent.
I think altogether it kinda works, so we can go into the good tier. Like the original, Torpedo is just a generic diver without much charm, so he goes into the bland tier. Our penultimate figure is the Viper, and I'm baffled by the choice of color scheme. Apart from the blue chest, nothing resembles the original. And then it hit me, the purple. Could this be based on that freaky 1994 Viper?
That's just bizarre.
By the way, this is the last bit of mold loss, as his legs and waist are from the bat. It is generally assumed the Viper's parts were lost after they were used to create Dr. Mindbender version 2. That fact, plus the colors, put this figure in the weird tier. And lastly, there's Zap, or Sergeant Zap as the figure is officially called. And I wish we could end on a more interesting note, but this is just grunt all over again, almost literally. The chest, camo is a bit better, but he still gets a one-way ticket to the ugly tier.
And there you have it.
All 23, or 24 if you count Pim Daddy Destro, 1997 G.I. Joe figures ranked. And I bet you had expected me to rank quite a few of these figures lower. But the truth is, there was plenty of good stuff in this line. But it's overshadowed so much by the bad and baffling figures that we tend to forget that.
Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?